Hello, is this the guy who sings the most amazing song, Come Jesus Come?
It is.
Stephen McWhirter, welcome to Spirit 105.3. It's such an honor to meet you on the phone. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Erica. How are you?
Well, I'm feeling inspired, and it's all because of you. I've read your story, and honestly, you could sum it up in one sentence. Meth addict to worship leader. Stephen, would you tell your story this morning?
Yes. I was raised an evangelist son. My dad was a traveling evangelist, and we literally went from church camp to church camp. And I would see my dad, get up and preach about Jesus. But then behind closed doors, honestly, I would see him, physically abuse my mom.
Oh.
And I said, you know what? If God's real, he's not good. And I don't want anything to do with this Jesus guy. And so around 11, I started smoking, drinking, marijuana, you name it. By the time I'm 15, it's cocaine, pills, I'm selling drugs. By the time I'm 17, I become a full-out crystal meth addict, and I'm using crystal meth every day for over 6 years. And I'm this guy during this time. I'm the guy that, hates Christianity. If you mention the name Jesus around me, two things are going to happen. I was either going to cuss you out or try to knock you out. And I say try because, again, I was a meth addict. I weighed 100 pounds. If I threw my whole body at you, you might get a paper cut. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was just so angry, man. And somebody came and gave me this book called The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel.
Wow.
No, do you know that book,
I
Erica?
do. He was a journalist, right, who found Christ.
He was an atheist journalist whose wife became a Christian, and like all husbands, he makes the mistake of being like, I'm going to prove her wrong. And, and so he ends up finding out, of course, it's all real, becomes a radical evangelist and, author for the gospel today. We're friends now, which is crazy. But somebody came telling you how much I hated Christianity at this point in my life. This is probably the most miraculous part of the story because somebody offered me this book. I didn't try to claw their eyeballs out of their head. I was just like, cool, whatever, right? It was just like a blur. And fast forward, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm in this room. Nobody's playing a piano or a harp softly or quietly in the corner, right? There's drugs on the side table next to me. It is seemingly the most improbable place for someone to give their life to Jesus. But it's the kindness of I can't say this enough, a very real God to meet a wounded pastor's kid in a place like this. And we begin to have this internal dialogue, right? Where he's like, Stephen, I'm real. I'm good. I have a purpose for your life. What are you going to do about it? And I was just in this room, God, I want to give you my life. I want to quit all this addiction, all this darkness, all this anger, all this depression I've known for so long. God, I want to, but I can't. And you have to understand, at this point in my life, I had been in addiction for over 11 years. I couldn't even remember what it was like to be a little kid and just be happy without taking something to make me feel happy. I literally this was the life I knew at this point. And when you're really in the presence of God, there's no saying the right churchy thing, right? He knows what's up. You know what's up. You got to be honest. So when I said, God, I want to, but I can't, I meant it. And in that moment, the Holy Spirit spoke something into me that changed me for the rest of my life. He said, Stephen, you won't do it. I'll do it. And basically, Christianity 101, paint by numbers easy. I took God at his word, I believed him, which is the only work. It says in the gospel, it says that the only work the Father asked of you in the Gospel of John, it says the only work the Father asked of you is to believe. And that's what happened in that room that night. I agreed with it. I believed it, and I fell to my knees. I believe I'm breathing air right now. And I fell to my knees. I gave my life to Jesus. I went from addiction to redemption. Basically, the deep theological reason is God's real. It's all real. And when I was in that room, my girlfriend, my fiance at the time, now my wife, we've been together over 27 years, married 21. She was in that bed that night and woke up to me on the floor, boogers coming out of my nose, ugly crying. And she's like, what is going on? I'm like, I gave my life to Jesus. She's like, are you high? And that was it, man. Everything else is pretty much, that was over 20 years ago. I went from that. I was in metal bands screaming my head off when I was a teenager. So I went from that to my first job as a worship leader. And they slid me a list of the songs I was allowed to play. And I think the coolest thing on that list at the time was I can only imagine. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Yes. Yes.
But here's
Wow.
the thing. This is the thing about Christian music. This is the thing about really, like, I mean, I met the real thing that night. I mean, like, there was no, like, nobody talked me into something. It was, like, so real. I'm always holding on to that. So when somebody slid me a list of songs, no matter how cheesy they were, whatever you might think, because of what I experienced, I was just so grateful to get to sing to him. And honestly, it sounds hokey and cheesy, but if you knew me, you know I mean it. I'm still doing that today. I'm still just really grateful that I get to sing to him, that I get to do anything for him at all.
Stephen, your story is so raw and beautiful. Thank you for sharing it. I want to
Oh,
ask
yeah.
you, I mean, it's crazy, but the world is just getting crazier by the day. And all of us,
Mm-hmm.
we need to know that God is real. So when you
Mm-hmm.
see what's going on in the Middle East right now, our hearts
Yep.
continue to break for all of these things going on. How does your faith help you through times like these?
Well, obviously the song, and I'm not trying to promote it at all. God does that for me. I don't have to worry about it. But the song "Come Jesus Come,"
Yeah.
like if you had told me when I wrote it that you would be singing for him to return during a time where it seems, I mean, I'm not one of those guys that like the end is nigh and I'm on the street corner,
Right.
but I'm, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, it makes me more aware and it makes me think about it more. And when I read the New Testament, the disciples talked more about the return of Jesus than they did the cross, which is crazy. It does not diminish the power or the significance of the cross. The cross is referenced around 48 times in the New Testament, but the return of Jesus is referenced over 300 times.
Wow.
And here's what I'll say to that. They longed to see their friend. They longed to see their friend, like for real. Like they knew him. And they long to see him again. And for us today, when I see what's going on and I'm praying for peace over Israel and I'm praying for peace over the churches and Christians in Palestine and other places, and I'm praying these things. But when I say, "Come, Lord Jesus, come," I'm praying for the final perfect peace that only comes from Jesus, like for real. And it makes me, I hope, love people better here towards his return, build things that matter here more towards his return. I'm not going to be hunkered in some, bunker eating beans, which, by the way, I don't know why people are always eating beans in bunkers. We could do better on our bunker food. Our apocalypse food could be better. But,
Yes.
but I'm being serious. Like, if you really believe this stuff and you do it like the way the early church did and the way it says in the Bible, you're not just this crazy person that's, waiting for the end. You're actually loving people and trying to see the kingdom of Jesus advance through your life in an even more practical and real way. So, yeah, I think, if anything, this stuff draws me closer to him, if that makes sense.
It does. I'm the one looking out the window. It could be today, and it just amazes me and it delights me that knowing Jesus, he probably did put that song on your heart for such a time as this. And one thing that really touches me about it, and the first time I heard it, I was like, I'm having church right here. Wow. You could hear a pin drop in the studio. But you pray that when people hear this song, that you would disappear and it's only them and Jesus. Wow.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, this thing we're in, Erica, life, right, is like a blink. I mean, if you asked anyone who's 80, they feel like they were 8 yesterday.
Yes.
And it's even more so like that with eternity. We're just going to blink and be in the presence of Jesus. And I'm going to look back and go, wow, I spent a lot of time on hoping I'd be famous and be like, oh, God, that was so dumb.
Yes, absolutely.
That was so stupid. Or trying to get a hit song on radio. No offense. But, I mean, This is all secondary stuff. It's just all about him. And it's about loving him well and loving as many people towards him with my life as I possibly can. And whatever he wants to do and however he wants to do that, and so, yeah, I always say I hope nobody leaves an event and goes, wow, Steve McCorder was great. I hope they leave and go, man, God is real and he's great.
That's awesome. Now, you've heard from how many people who've accepted the love of Jesus through this song?
So, back in 2022, I put this song on this thing called TikTok. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's pretty big. It's big in China. You'll learn. But anyways, I put it on TikTok. I like to say TikTok, and I feel like there's a 16-year-old somewhere going, there's a disturbance in the force.
Yeah,
we should all get off this platform. We should all get off the platform right now. But I got on TikTok and I posted this video and it went viral. And then that opened up the ability for me to start going live on that platform. Well, when I went live on that platform, I went live on Facebook Live, on Instagram Live, all that. I never went on and went, I'm an artist. Have you heard my music? Like I would just go on and worship Jesus, like everybody's songs, my songs, Come Jesus Come, and then share the gospel, share my testimony, and ask people if they want to come to Jesus. The first night we had one person. I was like, wow, that's crazy. The next night we had like 10 people. I was like, oh, my gosh. The third night we had 50. And I was like, this is a thing. And fast forward now from that September 22 last year till today, we have close to 37,000 people that have come to Jesus. We have hundreds of moderators across the country, people that are helping connect with these people, and we try to get them connected to a landing page where they can find churches and like get in the Word and like next step. It's probably been the most amazing thing I've ever done in my life. It's just to see God use it like that.
Stephen, I never thought I would say this, but thank God for the TikTok. That is something. I mean,
yeah.
Wow. I mean, wow. I am just blown away by your story. I kind of knew I would be from the moment I heard your song. I want to shift toward Thanksgiving a little bit because we've got that coming up. And I'm wondering, as you look back over 2023, what are you most grateful for?
No. Honestly, it sounds like I'm just giving it away, but of course my family. I mean, we have 3 boys. They're amazing. My marriage, my wife, I'm so blessed. It's crazy. I would say not the success of the song per se, like that's here today, gone tomorrow kind of stuff. I would say at the end, it's the stuff where people are coming to Jesus. Like I've just never seen a harvest, and I've been doing this a long time, but something shifted in the last year and a half where people are really just coming to the Lord, and it's simple. It's not like I'm having to be showy. There's just like the Lord's doing something, and to get to be any part of that at all is enough of a blessing. But to see the Lord actually use something as silly as me just getting on a social media platform and actually seeing people's lives change. And I've met a bunch of these people. We actually had a high priestess witch from Illinois get saved on Halloween night on TikTok. She drove all the way to Louisville, Kentucky, and we baptized her in front of about 1,000 people at an event. And so those are like real people getting saved on these things.
Thank you, Lord.
So this has probably been one of the most mind-blowing kingdom advancement years of my life. And it's made me go, wow, this is all that matters. And I really am like, thank you.
Oh my.
Just thank you.
Wow. I mean, I'm just in awe and so thankful. And I do feel like we are coming, up on the end of the age here. And it's really neat because everybody has a gift. Like the person who's listening right now may not be able to play guitar or sing. I know I can't sing, but it's like, what can you do? You jumped on the TikTok. Somebody can take a risk today, right, Stephen?
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, it's legitimately loving someone without, like, all of it without an agenda. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're very good at trying to build the brand that we might have or the church that we might have or the thing that we might do. But what if we just tried to do something without any agenda other than to love someone and to really be willing to share Christ with them? You know what I mean? And, like, to take those risks. And I really guess one of the things I would pray for anybody listening is just that the Lord would shut down the spirit of the fear of man, spirit that cares more about what people think than what he thinks. Like, and that's the thing. I'm going to look stupid or it's going to be embarrassing. What if they say no? Who cares? How much do you love them? How much do you love Jesus? Just go for it.
Amen. All right, I'm going to jump into the shallow end of the pool before I let you go here. Let's talk Thanksgiving Day. What is your favorite smell to smell on that day?
Smell? Okay. Gosh, I'm a mashed potatoes guy. Really good mashed potatoes. That's it. I'm simple.
Are we pouring the gravy on there like there's no tomorrow?
If it's made right, you don't have to. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So lump free. They got to be lump free.
Hey, I'm from Kentucky where we do Southern food and mashed potatoes specifically quite well. So I want to make sure that, keep it honest.
That is hilarious. Stephen McWhirter, if Jesus doesn't come back first, I hope you'll come back soon. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Oh, bless you. Thanks, Erica. You're the best.
Oh, you are. Take care, brother.